So I want you to take a look at the scale. The scale is always the same. And what that is, sorry, scale, it says 100, right? Mm-hmm. So it means it's 100% of the size that it was created to be. So whoever created this centaur made it a very specific size, and now 100%, it's the actual size. And what is that size? The length is 46 millimeters, the width is 27 millimeters, and the height is about 70 millimeters. Meaning that it's going to be about, I have an object that's similar size. It's about the size of this, the cup. So if you think about the work plane as being what we 3D print on, it's going to look like that when you bring it in, which is fine. Be careful. Some objects, when you bring them in, are huge. So even at 100% scale, if you see a number in either one of these three boxes that's more than 100, it's going to be very large. Some of them go up to like 700 or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Those are huge. No. So they won't really fit on the work plane. Now, if you upload it, you can always shrink it down, but it's easier to do this. So if you need to make it smaller, can you guys just try this? Don't click import, please. Change 100% to 50% of the size, and then just kind of click in the white area right here. See how it changes the length, width, and height? So it'll change the size of that model without affecting the original ratio that every single part was supposed to be. Because if you go back in, or if you import it in and then you stretch it using those tools, you can distort the object. This doesn't distort it. If it's way too small, at 100%, which is definitely true of some objects. I had one student bring in an object, and it was probably about the size of the end of this pen. And it was supposed to be like a robot figure, so tiny. He should have changed 100 to like 1,000%. So you have to look at these numbers and gauge what scale you're going to choose. So change it back to 100, and then click in the white area. So it should be back to 46.9, 27.82, 69.49, and click import. This is where it tests your patience. The Centaur is 4 megabytes. It takes a little bit of time to bring that into the work plane. All this stuff takes a little bit more time. So be aware of that. While we wait, this is what I want you doing. And they'll show up at different times. We'll go back and take a look and see if it shows up. But let's go back to Thingiverse. And I want you to think about what you would want to replace the head with. So I've had students put a crocodile head on there. I've had students use Batman. Somebody put a fist instead of their face. The Batman helmet. They use that. Sorry? I'm going to choose something that I chose earlier because I know it'll upload quickly because it's not that large. It's the Hello Kitty. So if you want to do the same thing that I'm doing just to practice this, that's fine. If you want to choose something slightly different, that is up to you. So I'm going to choose the Hello Kitty. Check Tinkercad really quick. See if it showed up. Mine did. See if it showed up. It's going to vary from computer to computer. Chuck, don't click those buttons.
Oh yeah.
That button is undo.
Yeah.
Remember, we're dealing with a different version. One thing I noticed that's slightly different about this version if you want to try this. If you want to orbit the object, hold down right click. Holding down right click orbits the object, and then holding down the scroll button moves the object. Take a look at this next part. Stop what you're doing. Even if your centaur has not loaded, I want you to do this. So stop Thingiverse, begin. I don't want to have to blank your screens. Just watch. So I'm going to cut this dude's head off. And the way that I do that is I grab this box in particular because this box creates a hole. So I bring this into my work plane. I pull it up by the black arrow, and then I drag it over to the guy, and what I use is the shadow to see what is actually going to disappear after I use this. So I don't want that part of his body, maybe up to his neck. So if I zoom in, and then I'll kind of orbit around. So that's going to get rid of everything that I want to get rid of. And if your guy's up on your work plane, you can do this as well. Remember to group. So this won't create a hole where it won't make his head disappear until you group it. So once it's at a point where you want that to happen, highlight both objects and click group. Anyone still not have their centaur up there? Just 3 of you? The rest of you, make his head disappear. Everyone else, take the head off. I know it sounds gruesome, but you're slicing his head off. And we're going to replace it with something else.
Look.
Bring it up a little bit higher because it's going to cut off the shoulders too. So click on the box. Click on the box and then click on the arrow and then just pull it up a little bit.
Like that?
Yeah. Once you have it in a position where you want it to be, remember to highlight the whole thing and then hit group. Hit group. Did yours show up? So your guys' will get there. Just wait. You'll be fine.
Yeah, we call.
I can always come back and help you once it comes back up there. Yours is up there, ready, drop. Carlos, your shot. Good. Yours is going to take a second. We had to wait there. Love that. Make sure you group both. Remember mine, it took a few seconds before the head actually disappeared. Again, you have to be patient with this. It's not as quick as using the objects from Tinkercad. So I'm going to show you one more thing, and then you guys are going to go from there. So I'm going to blank your screens, and I just want you to look up here. If you watch it, I guarantee you 90% of you are going to be able to do this on your own. And then the rest of you, I'll come around and help. So I'm going to blank really quick. So that's one of the mutants that we created with the dog head on top. I'm going to take the Hello Kitty, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I click on Hello Kitty, I go to thing files. Notice there's two different files in this one. This is probably not going to work. It's not the actual object itself. It's almost placed on a plane. And it's only 1 megabyte, which is perfect. 1 megabyte will upload, and it'll upload quickly. So I click here, it's going to download to the bottom. I go back to Tinkercad, import, and I just drag this up here. And I need to remember, I need to look at the scale, 62, 49, 74. And from what I remember with the Centaur is that's actually pretty close to the size of the Centaur, which is what I don't want. The head should be smaller. So I'm going to change 100 to maybe 40. And then I click away just to see what that's going to do. 24, 19, 29. That could be okay. I'm not sure yet. So I click import. It's going to take just a second. While we wait for this, remember, not all of everything that's on Thingiverse is perfect. These are created by individuals who have shared it onto Thingiverse. Sometimes the files don't work. And if they don't work, then you probably have to choose a different file. There is Hello Kitty. And again, I want the Hello Kitty on top, Hello Kitty head on top of this guy, so I'm going to get rid of Hello Kitty's body. And what I do is I drag out another box. Drag this into a view where you guys can see. So I'm going to bring this over here. I have to shrink this down. Cover the body here. And I'm using my right click to orbit around. So I want to cover everything below the neck. And I'm going to look carefully. It is, right now it's cutting off a portion of Hello Kitty's head, so let's change that. Perfect. Then I have to group this. Try to group. I put this pretty close to my Centaur, so be careful that you don't group the Centaur in with this. So I'm going to group these two. And when it's red like that, that means it's loading. Again, it might take a second or two before you actually see everything disappear. This does test your patience. So if you are working with this, you need to remember that it does take a little bit of time. And the bigger the file, the longer it's going to take. I chose pretty small files. I noticed some students, they bring in something that's 20 megabytes, and they're sitting there like, why isn't this loading? Well, it's pretty large, right?
About 10.
10's larger than any of these. So this was 4, and that was 1. So I'm going to rotate the Hello Kitty so that it matches. So 90 degrees. Bring it up. And again, I'm just using the tools to, and I'm not going to try and make this perfect right now because I want this to move a little bit quicker. So it's pretty much stuck to the body. And then the last thing I have to do is I highlight both of these and I hit group. And I understand that looks funny, but it's going to go away. Sorry about that. And right, because I already made that disappear, and it's thinking about what I'm taking away, and it's, again, it's going to take just a minute there. So while that thing is waiting to fix itself, once you've created your mutant creature, I do want you that to your site. So this is an earlier one that I created called the Froyo Tar. I took one of the turd emojis from Thingiverse. I changed the color, obviously, so now it looks like frozen yogurt, which is why I call it the Froyo Tar. My explanation or description, which you guys have to put, this is the Froyo Tar, part horse, human, frozen yogurt. Although he is often mistaken with a poo-tar, a distant relative, his head is made of frozen yogurt, not poo.
Poop.
I need both buttons. We need to be able to download it. We need to be able to copy and tinker it. So bringing in both buttons, we need a description on your website and then the photo. I'll leave this up here so that you can see it, so that you guys can do the same thing. Let's see if this fixed itself. There we go. So we have like a muscular Hello Kitty horse person. So I'm going to unblank your screens. I want you to choose something to put on to your centaur. Try and find something. Please do your best to make it appropriate. We've talked about that before.
Ooh. Hey. Hey.
Things that I have seen again. Batman. Saw someone put Superman on top there. A dragon head. A giraffe. Crocodile. Lizard. Other emojis? Huh? Absolutely. Is it a whale?
What if this happened? What if this happened?
Quick, go back to Thingiverse. Show me what you clicked on. Click there. So that one's, it's a corrupt file. It's not going to work. So Didier brings up a good example. He clicked on a file that looked fine, but it was a corrupt file, so it could have, the object that was uploaded may have been uploaded incorrectly. I'm not quite sure why. If that's the case, unfortunately, you have to find something else. Remember to be patient. So I'm looking at Chuck's computer, and he's waiting. Especially.
Well, this isn't
Sorry. Christian's right. Kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes.
I thought it was telebytes. Hey, how many telebytes does your Xbox have?
Sorry, I meant to say it's going to take a little bit of time, especially if it's a large file.
Oh, look.
Perfect. Stormtrooper is pretty good.
Hold on. Is a kilobyte smaller than a megabyte?
Yes.
That was Stewie from Family Guy on there.
Chuck, to answer your question, a terabyte is 8,000 gigabytes.
But isn't a gigabyte like 1,024 gigabytes? Megabytes?
You could be right. I don't know.
How do you spell Stewie? Yeah.
Who likes my Stormtrooper Hello Kitty set? The Storm Force.
Whoa, why is it not showing
Storm Kitty Force.
So it's half.
Remember, when you look at the scale of your object, those measurements are in millimeters.
Yes, I own it.
Why is it not like?
I want to 3D print something my SF.
Why is it?
Remember, if you want to 3D print it, it's gotta be.
How do I do
We could print that.
How do I do this?